ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಈ ವಿಡಿಯೋಲಿ ಕೋಲಾರ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ ಪೇಪರ್ 1 ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಇದು ಗೂಗಲ್ ಡಾಕ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೀವು ಇದನ್ನು ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ನಾನು ಲಿಂಕ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕೀನಿ, ನೋಡಿ. PDF ಕೂಡ ಇದೆ, ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಓಕೆ, ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಗೋ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನೀವು ಹೆಸರು ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಮತ್ತು ತಾಲೂಕನ್ನು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಗಳು ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ is velocity of light in vacuum is 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 8 meters per second. If the velocity of light in a medium is 2 to the power 10 power 8 millimeters per second, then what is the refractive index? Now refractive index is defined by C by V, where C is velocity of light in vacuum, which is 3 multiplied by 10 power 8 divided by V. V is the velocity of light in the medium. So idralli 3 by 2 agutte. 3 by 2 adre correct answer is 1.5. Okay, it happens to be glass in this case, right? So it happens to be 1.5. Second question. Second question is, what is the radius of the curvature of, the radius of the curvature of a convex lens is 30 centimeter. What is its focal length? Now radius of the curvature is 2 times focal length. So the correct answer in this case is 15 centimeter. Okay. Third question. Third question, I know a convex lens has a focal length of 10 centimeter. At what distance should the lens, from the lens should an object be placed to get an image at distance 20 centimeter from the lens on the other side of it? So convex lens focal length 10 centimeter ಆಗಿದೆ. ನಮಗೆ ಇಮೇಜ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಬೇಕು? 20 ಸೆಂಟಿಮೀಟರ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಅದರ್ ಸೈಡ್, ಅಂದರೆ ಇದು ಇನ್ವರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರಿಯಲ್ ಇಮೇಜ್ ಬೇಕು. ಅದು 20 ಸೆಂಟಿಮೀಟರ್ ಆಗಿರಬೇಕಂತೆ. ಸೊ 20 ಸೆಂಟಿಮೀಟರ್ ದೂರದಲ್ಲಿರಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಇಟ್ 2F. 2F ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಆ ಕಡೆನೂ 2F ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಇಮೇಜ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಈಸ್ 2 times ಫೋಕಲ್ ಲೆಂತ್. ಓಕೆ, ಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್ ಹಾಕು ಮಾಡು, ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಅದೇ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್. ಫೋಕಲ್ ಲೆಂತ್ ಈಸ್ ಗಿವನ್ ಆಸ್ 0.25 meter. ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಪವರ್? So focal length 0.25 meter adre, power will be 1 by focal length, which is 4 diopter. So correct answer D. Consider the following statements on connecting ammeter and voltmeter in an electric circuit and identify the correct one. So 4 statement ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಯಾವ statement correct ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. The first statement says ammeter is connected in series, voltmeter is connected in parallel. That is correct. Ammeter is indeed connected in series and voltmeter is connected in parallel. Voltmeter is connected in series, tappu. Both are connected in series, also tappu. Both are connected in parallel, also tappu. So ammeter is connected in series is the correct answer. Next question. If 1800 coulomb charges pass through an electrical device in 10 minutes, the electrical current through the circuit is. Now the current is defined as ಕೂಲಂಬ್ ಬೈ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಸೊ 10 minutesನ್ನು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಯು ಗೆಟ್ 600 seconds, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಈಚ್ ಮಿನಿಟ್ ಇಸ್ 60 seconds. ಸೊ 10 minutesಲ್ಲಿ ಯು ಗೆಟ್ 600 seconds. So if you divide the coulomb by 600 seconds, 800 coulomb by 600 seconds, you get 3 amperes as the answer. Okay. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ ಚಾರ್ಜನ್ನು ನಾವು ಸೆಕೆಂಡಿಂದ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಸೊ 1800 by 600 is 3. ಓಕೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್. ಇಫ್ ದ ರೆಸಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ 40 ohms, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಓಮ್ಸನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಬಟ್ 40 ohms ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ 1000 joules of heat energy, what is the potential difference between the two of the resistors? So what is the potential difference across the resistance? It was correctagi sari bardilla question, but you can think of this as, what is the potential difference if the resistance is 40 ohms and it produces 100 joules of energy? Now, what do we know about energy? We know that it is V square by R. So if only the potential difference is unknown, then we can write it as V square by divided by R. So in this, V square by R will be so V square by 40, because 40 is the resistance, and that is equal to 1000, which means V square will be 1000 times 40, which is 40,000. Now 40,000 square root tagondre, you get 200 volt. So 200 volt is the correct answer. Okay. Idರಲ್ಲಿ V square divided by R equals heat equation ಅನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. Next. So calculate the current that flows through 10 ohm resistor in the following circuit ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಯಾರ. So 10 ohm resistor ಇಂದ ಯಾವ್ದು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತೆ. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ, let us look at the diagram. So in this diagram there is a 6 volt potential difference, and that is applied through 3 resistors which are connected in parallel, which means the potential difference across all 3 resistors will be the same. So ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕೂ 6 volts ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು 10 ವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು, ಅದು ಓಮ್ಸ್ ಲಾ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಓಮ್ಸ್ ಲಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ, 6 ವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ ದ ರೆಸಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಗಿವ್ ಅಸ್ ಅ ಕರೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ 6 ವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ 10 ಈಸ್ 6 by 10, and 6 by 10 is 0.6. So 0.6 is the answer. Next. To get 2 ohm resistance using only 6 ohm resistors, the number of them required. Now, in order to reduce the resistance, you have to connect them in parallel. So if you work it out, you will find that if you connect 3 of them in parallel, then you will reduce the resistance from 6 ohms to 2 ohms. So because 1 by 6 plus 1 by 6 plus 1 by 6 agate, that will become 3 by 6. 3 by 6 adre, that is 1 by 2. So that is how you figure out how to reduce how many resistors you need to get 2 ohm resistance. Series al connect madidre the resistance you just add. Ade parallel la connect madidre nimge 1 by R formula use madbekagutte. Okay, 50th question nodona. The magnetic needle brought near a conductor carrying current. So ಒಂದು ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ನೀಡಲ್ನ ಒಂದು ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಯಿಂಗ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಹತ್ರ ತೊಗೊಂಬಂದರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? We know that when a conductor carrying current, then the magnetic field is produced. So magnetic field hatra magnetic needle ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ deflect ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So it deflects. That is the answer. Next, 51st question. A magnetic field inside a solenoid carrying current, what is it? So magnetic field lines inside a solenoid carrying current. So magnetic field lines inside a solenoid will be parallel straight line. Okay, it will not be curved loop, it will not be north to south, it will actually be from south to north, and it will not be concentric circles, it will be parallel straight line is the correct answer. Next question. What is the safety device in the domestic circuit? Domestic circuit alli yavadu safety device anta. Switch is not a safety device. Rheostat is used to change the resistance. Fuse is the safety device. Electricity meter is used to measure how much of electricity you use. Okay. Next. Major constituent of biogas. So biogas alli ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು? The correct answer is methane. Methane ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿರೋದು biogas alli. Next question. Renewable energy source ಯಾವುದು? Which one of this is a renewable energy source? Coal, petroleum and natural gas, they are all fossil fuels. ಅಂದರೆ ಹಿಂದೆ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಅವುಗಳು ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಸುಮಾರು ಮಿಲಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಯರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವು ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಪೆಟ್ರೋಲಿಯಂ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಇವುಗಳು ಫಾಸಿಲ್ ಫ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಬಟ್ ಸೋಲಾರ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಇಸ್ ರಿನ್ಯೂವಬಲ್. 55th question. A blue litmus paper is first dipped in dilute HCl solution followed by dilute sodium hydroxide. The change observed in litmus. So dilute HCl is acid, dilute sodium hydroxide is base. We know that the blue litmus becomes red in acid and it becomes blue in sodium hydroxide. So what will happen is it will first change to red and then it will change to blue. Now, 56th question. The equation which represents neutralization reaction. So, neutralization reaction andre, it is usually acid plus base. So, you'll note acid plus base is hydrochloric acid plus sodium hydroxide, which is neutralization. Okay, now this is an interesting question. What they're saying is calcium hydroxyapatite. So, this is basically the chemical that is present in tooth enamel. Its nature is anbittu acid, base, amphoteric and neutral anta kodidare. Now in the textbook, it doesn't say anything about calcium hydroxide. What is the nature? Okay, textbook only says that acids are produced by bacteria and that corrodes the enamel. And if you use toothpaste, it is good because toothpaste is basic, or saliva is good because saliva is basic. But illi en heliyare, what is the nature of calcium hydroxide anta? If you go and search in the internet, lot of Indian education websites, they claim that calcium hydroxyapatite is a base. But there's nothing in the textbook which says it is a base. Even if you do internet search, it's not easy to find what is calcium hydroxide's real nature. I am almost biased about saying it is neutral because I don't think enamel is either basic or acidic, but we don't know. So I'll just leave this question as is. I don't think anyone in exam will ask this question. This is unique to this Kolar district paper. Okay. All right. 58th question. Which metal oxide does not form an alkali? Alkali indre, it is a base that dissolves in water, or dissolves alla, it is soluble in water, which means it forms a liquid. Now, sodium oxide will make a sodium hydroxide. Calcium oxide will make calcium hydroxide. Potassium oxide will make potassium hydroxide. Copper oxide actually is insoluble in water. So the correct answer is actually copper oxide because it is insoluble. 59th is an interesting question. The question is actually wrong, but let's understand what the question is. The element X loses one electron, element Y gains one electron and forms a compound XY. So sodium ಮತ್ತೆ chlorine ಅಂತ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ. Sodium loses one electron, chlorine gains one electron, it forms a compound sodium chloride. XY ಅಂತಿದೆ. You can think of it as sodium and chlorine. Which of the following is the property of the compound? Now, which of the following is the property ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. Which of the following is not the property ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಬೇಕಿತ್ತು, but which of the following is property ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. Now, ಯಾಕೆ not ಕೇಳಬೇಕಿತ್ತು? Because this is an ionic. So, ಈ ಥರ lose electron, gain electron ಅಂದರೆ it's an ionic compound. Now, ionic compounds have some characteristics. Ionic compounds are brittle in nature. They possess high melting point, not low melting point. So, this is wrong. They are soluble in water. Ionic compounds are soluble in water. And in solid state, they are bad conductors of electricity. So, idralli ionic compound adre, the only thing that is wrong is possess low melting point. So, ee question nalli, they should have asked which of the following is not the property of the compound. Okay. So, the correct answer would have been possess low melting point. But idralli, which of the following is a property in ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, which means it could be brittle, it could be soluble, it could be bad conductor. ನೀವು actually answer submit ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, the answer shows that it is a possess low melting point, but it is wrong. Okay, question is wrong. Next question over. Silver articles become black after some time when exposed to air. So this is due to the formation of coating of silver sulfide. So the correct answer is silver sulfide in this case. Okay, so then we have this question. This question also is a little tricky question because two answers are potentially correct and we have to pick one of them. The bond that carbon forms with most other elements are very strong because, okay, now carbon forms ionic bonds is wrong. Carbon doesn't form ionic bond. The bond is actually strong as compared to other elements like silicon because of the small size of carbon atom. So this is actually correct. The larger the size of the carbon, I mean this is English also is wrong and sentence also is wrong. It is not larger the size. Now carbon forms covalent bonds with other elements. This is also correct and covalent bonds are generally strong. But covalent bonds are formed by other elements also, right? But they are not as strong. So the correct answer, the most correct answer is small size of carbon atom. The second correct answer would be carbon forms covalent bond with other elements. Now, ಈ ಥರ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಆನ್ಸರು ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ you have to pick the one which is most correct. So in this case, the most correct is small size of carbon atom, because other elements also can form covalent like silicon, but because of the small size, it is much stronger. Okay. 62. The functional group in propanol. So propanol andre it is an alcohol. Okay. Propanal, L antididre, it was an aldehyde. Propanone agidre ketone. Propanoic acid agidre, it is carboxylic acid. So in this case, it is an alcohol. Now, what is the molecular formula of molecular formula of a compound is C6H12. The formula of the next of this homologous series. Homologous series andre adu formula same irutte. So same andre the formula to obtain the compound same irutte. So illi CN2H2N ide. That means hydrogen, number of hydrogen atoms is double the number of carbon atoms. So the next member will be C7. Since it will have double, we'll have C7H14. That will be the correct answer. Now the process of unsaturated hydrocarbons adding hydrogen in the presence of catalysts such as palladium and nickel to give saturated hydrocarbon is addition reaction. Okay, hydrogenation is an addition reaction. Now, this is a very interesting question. Identify the incorrect statement. Okay, incorrect statement. Yavadu statement tappu anta keliyare. That about the trends when going from left to right across a periodic table. So the incorrect statement yavadu nodana. The elements become less metallic in nature. Illa, actually this is correct. If you think of it, sodium starts on this end, and as you go, it becomes less metallic. This is correct. The number of valence electrons increases. Yes, valence electrons also increases. That's correct. Valency remains the same. Valency increases initially and then becomes reduces. But valence electrons, so the number of electrons in the outer shell, that increases. The atom lose their electrons more easily. This is wrong. The ones which are leftmost, they tend to lose electrons easily, because for them losing an electron means they become stable outer shell. But as you go across, it becomes harder to lose electrons. Towards the end, they would rather want electrons rather than lose electrons. So C is the correct answer, which is wrong. So the oxides become more acidic. That is true. When you go from left to right, oxides actually become more acidic. All right. 66th question. Mendeleev treated the formula of these compounds formed. Mendeleev ಯಾವ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಪೀರಿಯಾಡಿಕ್ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ದ ಅಂತ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್. It's very difficult to read this question, but that is what the question actually means. So ಅವರು ಹೈಡ್ರೈಡ್ ಮತ್ತು ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು he basically formed the periodic table, because he thought hydride and oxides are most reactive. All right, so this is an interesting question. The question itself is fine. The body temperature of these animals depends on the temperature in the environment. Which is cold-blooded, cold body anta helteve, cold-blooded animals, which means the temperature, the environment temperature decreases, their temperature also decreases. So humans, for example, are warm-blooded. Warm-blooded andre nam temperature change agalla. Neevu Iceland alladru iri athwa desert alladru iri, temperature will be 198 degree Fahrenheit or 38 degree centigrade. Whereas animals like lizards and frogs are cold-blooded. Andre avagalu temperature horge ಏನಿರುತ್ತೋ ಅದರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ temperature change ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅವುಗಳದ್ದು. So ಇದಕ್ಕೆ correct answer is frogs and lizards. ಆಯ್ತಾ? But if you submit answer, they will say it is birds and rabbits. Alright? So which is weird. I think if the question was the body temperature of these animals do not depend on the temperature of the environment anta kelidre adu birds and rabbits agirodu. The body temperature of these elements depend on the temperature anta kelidre frogs and lizards, because both frogs and lizards are cold-blooded. Idu mix. Lizard is a cold-blooded, human is a warm-blooded, frog is cold-blooded, bird is a warm-blooded. So itara vichitra question ide. I'll just go by what the question says and I'll write frogs and lizards. Okay. Now, 69th question is also a bit tricky question, especially the way the answers are given. Identify the two forces during the movement of water from roots to the aerial parts acting on A and B. ಏನು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಆದಾಗ ಏನು ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರೂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. 4 ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಎ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಪುಲ್ ಅಂತ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಬಿ ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ, ಅಥವಾ ಬಿ ರೂಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್. ಸೊ ಬಿ ಎ ರೂಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್, ಎ ರೂಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಎ ಅಂದರೆ ಮೇಲೆ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್, ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ರೂಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್. ಬಿ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಪುಲ್. ಸೊ ಬಿ ಅಂತೂ ಇದು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಅಂತೂ ಗ್ಯಾರಂಟಿ ರಾಂಗ್. ಸಿ ಸಕ್ಷನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೂಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್. ಸೊ ಸಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಎವಾಪರೇಷನ್ ಆದಾಗ ಸಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ರೂಟಲ್ಲಿ ರೂಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೆರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರೋಲೈಟಿಕ್ ಇದು, there will be more water entering in, and because of that there is root pressure. Now C could be correct. A evaporation, B translocation. So we have to pick between transpiration pull and suction. Now in the case of transpiration pull, I mean you can think of transpiration pull as a correct answer, but active transport is not even a force. So we will pick the most correct answer, which is suction and root pressure. Now, even when you submit the answer, they think also this is the correct answer. Okay. Now, 69th question. A significant decrease in blood pressure affects the normal functioning of the kidney as follows. Now, the thing is, I don't think this is part of your syllabus. This is part of the PUC syllabus, but quote bidiyare. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಲೆಬಸಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಸಿಲೆಬಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೂ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಗಿವ್ ಅನ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಸೇ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ನೋ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಹಿಯರ್, ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ ರಿಯಾಲಿಟಿ ವೆನ್ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ glomerular, okay, if I'm pronouncing this correct, glomerular filtration will reduce. Okay, so that is the correct answer. Increased pressure on urinary bladder is wrong. More water is reabsorbed. I don't know this. Increase in tubular secretion. I don't think this is also true. So I think B is the answer, but this is not part of your syllabus, so you can't expect this in the final exam. Alright, so this is part of the syllabus and you can expect it in the final exam. In synapses, chemical signal is transmitted from where to where? The correct answer is it is transmitted to some axonal end of one neuron to dendrite of another neuron. Then, what is an example of phototrophic movement? Phototrophic andre light sensitive movement. Light sensitive movement yavdu? Ripening of fruit is not light sensitive. Growth of pollen tube is not. Growth of root is not. So the correct answer is growth of stem, because stem tries to grow towards light. Now 72nd is which is the incorrect statement about thyroxine hormone. Now thyroxine hormone helps in growth, correct. Iodine is required, synthesis thyroxine, that's also correct. Thyroid gland generates thyroxine, that's also correct. The wrong thing is thyroxine causes anemia. It's not thyroxine which is it can cause anemia, but that is the most appropriate sentence, because other three are obviously correct. Next, where does embryo implantation happen in female reproductive system? So the correct answer here is uterus is where implantation happens. The incorrect statement about unisexual flowers. Unisexual flowers andre they will not have both stamen and pistil. So this one is the correct answer. It's incorrect statement. They don't possess both. So a tall plant with round seeds, that is TTRR with a dominant gene, is crossbred with a dwarf plant with a wrinkled seed, which is all recessive gene. Among the offspring in F.generation, which trait is found to be the minimum? Now, because the recessive gene gets dominated by the dominant gene, the one which is true recessive, like TTRR, so dwarf plants with wrinkled seeds, will be the least. If you remember, I think it's 9331 is the ratio, and this will be the one, that 9331 ratio. Next, what happens if there is any change occurs in reproductive tissue of the organism? Now, reproductive tissue andre, we are assuming it is germ cell. Okay, the correct statement here is germ cell, not reproductive tissue. But you can think of reproductive tissue as germ cell. Now, if germ cells, which are basically sperm and ova, if those guys have some change, that change will be inherited. So therefore, it has an effect. Which tool is not used for tracing evolutionary relationship? Now, excavation is used because excavation and studying fossils are kind of related, because you get fossils by excavating, and you use time dating also to find out how old they were and stuff. You don't really use historical details. I mean, you don't really use somebody who has written a story to find out evolutionary relationship. Now, 78th statement is what is correct with respect to biodegradable substances. Now, biodegradable andre, it degrades in bio. So it is a bio, but it is degradable. So which means it undergoes recycling naturally in the environment. 79th question, instead of throwing away used envelopes, if you reverse it and use, what is it? It is basically reuse, because you're reusing the envelope. And 80th question is, this is a social problem of building large dams. Now, what is a social problem? Huge amount of public money is an economic problem, not a social problem. Deforestation, biological diversity is not a social problem. It is a kind of ecological problem. The actual problem is displacing large number of peasants and tribals. Okay. So this is a interesting paper and a tricky paper, because some of the questions were not properly formed, and some of the answers were like two answers were correct or something like that. But this is quite possible even in the real exam. ಈ ಥರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಗೋ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅವಾಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನು ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೋ ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ. ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡೋ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ಸು ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ತಪ್ಪು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೊಡೋ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ಸು ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದೆರಡು ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಯೂಶ್ವಲಿ. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೋ ಅದನ್ನ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿ. ಆಯಿತಾ? Hopefully you found this useful. We'll soon do another video. Till then, bye, take care.